let's talk about how living in the light gives us assurance. That's what John talks about in 1 John chapter 3, and really all throughout his letter to the Christians that he was writing to. He wants them to understand that they can have confidence in their salvation. They can know for sure that they're saved. They don't have to live in fear. And they can have that confidence based on the answer to 3 simple questions. And they're the same questions that we should all ask ourselves today. Here's the first one, and the big question: have you believed in Jesus? 1 John 3:23 says, "And this is his commandment, we must believe in the name of his Son, Jesus Christ." And in chapter 5, verse 13, he says, "I've written this to you who believe in the name of the Son of God, so that you may know you have eternal life." See, John understood this first truth, its foundation's truth one, that we start by trusting Jesus. And that's why this first question is so critical, it's so important. Have you put your faith in Jesus Christ? Have you really trusted in him for your salvation? But that's the first question that John brings up in his letter. Have you believed in Jesus? And then he gives 2 follow-up questions. And these are really questions that provide evidence that you've answered the first question in the affirmative. So here's the first follow-up question: are you obedient? It's one thing to say that you've believed in Jesus Christ, but really the evidence of that is your obedience. That's what he says in chapter 2, verse 3. He says, "And we can be sure that we know him if we obey his commandments." And that's because as Christians, we should live to honor God in our lives. That's the proof that we really did have the right attitude of faith. And so John is saying that a lifestyle of unrepentant sin should make a person nervous. That's what he says in chapter 3. He says, "Those who have been born into God's family do not make a practice of sinning because God's life is in them. So they can't keep on sinning because they're children of God." Now, he's not talking about just sinning still, because everyone still has some sin. After all, we have a new nature, but we still have old habits. He's talking about making a practice of sinning. He's talking about a lifestyle of unrepentant sin. And if that's how you live, then you're really not being obedient. And John is saying it should probably make you nervous. And then here's the second follow-up question he gives. It's real simple. He says, do you love people? In chapter 3, verse 14, he says, "If we love our Christian brothers and sisters, it proves that we have passed from death to life. But a person who has no love is still dead." See, and the point is that real love is proven by our willingness to help people. That's what John writes in 1 John 3. He says, "We know what real love is because Jesus gave up his life for us. So we also ought to give up our lives for our brothers and sisters." And then he got even more specific. He said, "If someone has enough money to live well and sees a brother or sister in need, but shows no compassion, how can God's love be in that person?" And he summed it up with this. He said, "Dear children, let's not merely say that we love each other. Let us show the truth by our actions. Our actions will show that we belong to the truth, so we will be confident when we stand before God." And so those are the 3 questions that can give you assurance. When you're really living in the light, you can answer all 3 of those questions with a resounding yes. Have you believed in Jesus? Yes. Are you obedient? Yes. And do you really love people? Yes.